Being consistent. In order to be consistent, what do we have to have? Come on. A system. All right. What do we got to have? All right. I got to wake it up. You got to be consistent. You got to have a system. And that's from direct mail to bandit signs to everything that you do. We have direct mail. You can use a direct mail fulfillment house. I'd recommend that if you have more than 500 pieces. And there's different strategies to direct mail. We started out paying someone hourly just to come in. They'd pick up the list. And when I say outsourcing, I'm not talking about Tim My style. We're outsourcing to the Philippines, And Tim is brilliant at using concepts like that. But a lot of times, the things when it comes to being a real estate investor, you're going to have to outsource are just little menial tasks like direct mail, like putting out signs, like doing some of the marketing fulfillment. A lot of that has to be locally outsourced. So you're going to have to get someone to come in and do some direct mail for you. So I have somebody who comes in, picks up the list, comes back, drops off the pieces, they go out. I have a girl in the office that counts them. Early on, I was doing all the direct mail. And then I stopped and I woke up and I said, you know what? Your highest and best use, write this down, is analyzing deals and buying properties. Every other area of the business, you have to outsource. You really do. Because you're not paid. I meet a lot of rehabbers. How many of you have done rehabs before? How many of you have done rehabs before? How many of you worked on the project before? Literally got out there and worked on the project. All right. I've done it too. Don't do it. Right? You can hire a carpenter or frame in a wall. They're probably going to do a better job than you. You're only going to have to pay them $16 an hour. You're worth, as a wholesaler, literally $500 to $5,000 an hour. That is what you're worth. If you're framing a wall, you are worth $16 an hour. If you're doing your direct mail, you're crazy because you're saying you're worth $8 an hour, right? I was crazy too. I've done it all. I like you. You like me. We've all done that. But you have to start weeding your way out of those jobs. So you got to be consistent. You got to create, systems, not ideas. We need systems in everything that we do. To give you an idea, here's some of the major categories that we market to, right? I've talked about 3 or 4 on here. There's so many different things that you can do, especially with the internet. We have sold houses from MySpace. Never in a million years did I think I was going to get anything more from MySpace besides a date. And then we sold some house, and I said, wait a second. We're going to change what we're doing. We're going to find people. We started generating leads for hard money from MySpace. We do hard money lending, too, in our area. And we started, it was unbelievable how it's changing. The landscape is changing. That's why, do you always need to keep educating, yes or no? Yes. It's the most valuable investment you'll ever make. Viral marketing. You ever seen a refer a friend program? Right? Here's one thing that we set up that's really cool. A buyer, we have these, we call them microsites, like the little websites that generate leads. And this is kind of a more advanced concept. This is, where's Chico and Chris Daigle? Are they in here? They have all this internet marketing. Well, it's very simple. Wholesale buyers, right? We generate a wholesale buyer lead. And I'm looking for wholesale buyer leads. Well, viral is, what happens is they come in, they type in their information to be on our buyers list. To get on our buyers list, to get emails from us with good leads. People want to be on that list. As soon as they hit click, all of a sudden there's 3 friends. It says refer a friend, and we'll give you this free ebook on how to get hard money to fund your deals. Now I'm going to educate them, and I'm going to get referrals from their friends if they actually submit them, right? And it just it's like cancer. It just grows. And all of a sudden your buyers list gets bigger and bigger. So that's an idea. These are some of the advanced different concepts that we teach. Direct mail, we have 19 different things. Outdoor signage, we have 8 different campaigns. I can't say there's one campaign that works better than another. I can say, I take that back. I have campaigns that work better than another. I can't say you need one campaign that's going to solve all your problems. It's not. You need different campaigns coming from different areas. Now, outsourcing, the key is to start utilizing the leverage of other people. Who's got an idea? Who's got an idea from either something I've said, Tim, Preston, of a way that they can work? Ron, who's heard this saying from Ron LeGrand? The harder, what's his saying? The less I do, the more I make, right? Repeat after me. The less I do, the more I make. He used to say this, right? He used to say this, and he's kind of one of the grandfathers of real estate investing. Old school. He's old school. I think, in my opinion, some of the concepts are phenomenal. Some are outdated. It just depends on how you look at it. Well, Ron, he always said the same. The less I do, the more I make. The less I do, the more I make. And I never understood it. And then I got involved and I started leveraging technology. I started leveraging people. And one day it clicked. And I was like, he's right. The less I physically do, the more I make. When I hire somebody to put out bandit signs, sure, I might have 2 or 3 people and paying $8 an hour, but it's producing, consistently $40,000 a month in income just from that one marketing campaign. And then, moving that to every other campaign. So who's got an idea that they've gotten this weekend of being able to leverage somebody else's talents to make you money that they want to share and they're going to put into motion? Or maybe they've already put in motion. Tim, didn't you put something in motion already?
Yes.
Or were you lying to me?
No.
Okay. Tell everybody what you put into motion.
I called another investor and...
Yep. Oh, we already said that. I already forgot. I'm drawing a brain fart. All right.
Okay.
So, sorry, Tim. I made you say it again. Some people weren't here. Were you here? You heard what Tim had to say? Okay. All right. She was here. Just making sure. Who's got another idea of something they've learned this weekend that they'd like to share? And maybe I'll give a free gift over here that they'd like to share. All right. Yeah, go ahead. Something that you can leverage somebody else's talents.
Yeah, my daughter, I'm going to go ahead and put her as bird dogging because she's very good at communicating with people and actually very sellable.
Slave labor, huh? Your daughter, huh?
Yeah.
Isn't that what people have kids for, right? Direct mail. Right? Yeah.
Bird dogging with postal people, cable guys in my neighborhood.
Yes. Great. Yes. Great concept. Obviously brings in leads. Yes.
You have a former guitar student who does tree work. So while he's out doing tree jobs, maybe you might come across somebody. Also.
Yep, that's a great. You know what? We trained. I sat my contract. We have 5 crews of contractors, and this when you get into rehabbing, it can get crazy. But we have 5 crews. We sat them down one day, and we basically trained them. Number one, on when buyers walk through the house, what to say, what not to say, how to show the property, and that's been a tremendous help. Now, contractors do get a lot of deals because they're just out there on the job site, and it's funny. People will come up to them, and they refer. We've gotten so many properties from our contractor leads that they've gotten. They know what's going on in the neighborhoods and what properties are, there's a fire damage property right now. There's a foreclosure sign just got posted. I mean, they're kind of like people out there that you can leverage that are out there on the street.
I also thought that, since I'll be out looking at properties, but if I see a property that needs tree work done, well, hey,
Yep.
Maybe you can pay me a little finer
Yeah.
if I get them some work.
I like that. Here's what we're going to do. You guys ready? I want you to pair up. We're going to take 2 minutes. How long?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. What I want you to do is I want you to share. And I don't want this, I'm from Tampa. We're not going to share, right? This goes on. I realize that. We're not going to do that. All right? So you're going to share. You're going to take the 2 best ideas that you've gotten from me, Tim, I don't care, Mike, whoever. Maybe you got a tip from one of the girls dancing at the wholesale ball last night. I don't know. Maybe you got a tip somewhere, but I want you to take the 2 best tips that you're going to put into motion that you've learned this weekend, and I want you to share because the other person might have been asleep or not paying attention when those tips are being given out. So we're going to take 2 minutes. How long?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. All right, pair up right now. Share 2 concepts right now with the other person. Who got something? First of all, who talked to somebody interesting? Anybody? If you're not raising your hand, I'd be insulted, right? Who got an idea from their partner? Who got a good idea they want to share? Yeah, one idea that you want to share with everybody. Stand up and tell everybody where you're from, who you are.
I'm Ashley Rader. I'm from here in Tampa, and lumpy male.
Lumpy male. Okay, give me more specifics.
I was telling my partner here about implement that. Talking about with my sign guy having to give us the foreclosure.
Yep.
He said add some lumpy mail with their chunky mail, he called it, and leave that and increase the response rate.
Yep, that's a great idea. Everyone give him a round of applause. How many of you have heard of yellow letters or use yellow letters in any way? Okay, how many of you don't know what yellow letters are? Okay, yellow letters, There's a website. Don't quote me on this because I don't have a photographic memory, but I think it's Yellow Letters Complete. Great website. We do it locally, but that's a national site that you can outsource it to. Yellow letters are, who's got a yellow notebook they want to hold up? Anybody? Oh, there we go. And always someone got yellow notebook. Yeah, you. I need your notebook. All right. Mike Collins has a nice ass. What? That's weird. Come on. All right. This is a yellow letter, right? Handwritten. What you do, it's very simple. Yellow letters, simple. If you've never seen it before, you write Dear Blank. You write out the letter with the message. It's geared towards it. It can go to any list. Doesn't matter what list. Go to any list. Looks handwritten. There's companies that basically print that, and they'll print thousands of them, hundreds of them. And then all you have to have somebody do is fill out. And they'll actually do the whole thing for you if you want to pay a little bit more per letter. Or you can do it in-house where you actually write in the Dear Mr. Jackson, and they think it's personal. It's going to increase response rates. You know, in direct mail, one thing I do want to say about direct mail is the more people go after the list, the lower your response rates are going to get. If you're going after a list that's probate and nobody's going after, you're going to have high response rates. So you could have a 5, 6, 8% response. You could have that high of a response rate if no one's going after. It's more effective when nobody's going after it, let's say. So the more people are going after it, obviously your response rate is going to shrink. So it does vary. So I shouldn't say it's 1%, but if you're sending out thousands of campaigns, yes, if you can beat 1% pretty consistently, you're good. But if you have a good, effective list to go after and nobody's going after it, you'll see some higher response rates. And yellow letters is a great strategy to go after a lot of different. Yeah?
Yeah, we mailed out 281 yellow letters, and we got a 29% response on that.
Probably not many people going after that list. Wow. Good. That's a great. Now, here's one thing that I'll tell you. Is that if you do that consistently, that percentage will drop. You're not going to be, that's a one-time campaign. I'm talking about campaigns over thousands of different letters. But that's a great response. And yellow letters are highly effective. Highly effective.
Plus it's the envelope. It's the invitation size envelope, and you fold the flap.
I like that.
You can't print it on the front. Or else you can buy programs, search it on the internet, that looks handwritten. My realtor uses one of those, and you'll get your percentages will shoot up dramatically.
Yeah, very good. Give her a round of applause for Sharon. All right. Here's one thing. I'm going to hold questions for a little while because I'm probably about an hour behind the material. So guess what? We're going to jump back into it. All right. Outsource, test, and track. Here's one of the things that was big for me early on. Every system that I developed was because of a problem. Because of what? A problem. Every time I've developed a system, there's been a problem. And then you develop and you fix it, right? It's no different than running a website. You put a website up, generate it, you got to change it, tweak it, make it more effective, figure out what works, everything. Well, one of the things I started doing is I started tracking my marketing. One of the best things I ever did. This is a simple way, if you don't have a database that tracks it or anything like that, simple way is just to use Excel when you're starting out. When I started, low cost, and I would write down, whether it's a seller campaign, I had one for sellers and one for buyers. And wrote down all the different ways I was marketing and my response rates. Now we have a database that we use that literally calculates the percentages. So it's more efficient. But when you're starting out, this is great. Just a very simple way to track. Because you want to know what most people do? Nothing. They do nothing. This is a testimonial that I usually have. This is a guy who started out, uses our marketing campaigns. 22 properties his first year. What I tell people is when you have something that works, leverage it. Work it until it produces similar response rates for you. Then you might want to tweak the marketing a little bit and tweak it and improve it. And so let's move on. Let's go through. Opportunities. We talked about missed opportunities, right? We don't want to miss opportunities. Why do I have this in here right now? I don't even know why. Hold on one second. Oh, we already did that. Okay, here we go. Wholesaling. Now we're getting into the business. The business of marketing to find sellers. Now we're talking about the business of looking at deals. Did Preston go through how he analyzes deals, how he makes offers? Did he go through some of this? A little bit? Okay. Right. What is the essence of the business? It's how effective your marketing is. But then it's how effectively you, and this is where the risk is, evaluate deals. If you can spend one area that I would tell you, if you want to eliminate the majority of the risk, it's how you appraise properties. That's where a lot of people make mistakes. I myself have made mistakes. One time we put a property under contract. This is my first year in the business. I thought it was going to sell for $270,000. How much did I think it was going to sell for? $270,000. It was on a busy street. I adjusted the comps down. The comps were in the 280 to 285 range. So I said the after repair value is probably around 270 because of the busy street. Well, little did I know how much a street truly affects the value. Because here's what I did. I went to an appraisal class, and that's how they adjusted for the value. And so I said, I'm going to knock 15 grand off. Well, in reality, out on the street, it's a little different. And I sold the property, beautiful property, fixed it up, did everything right, sold it for $240, and I started to realize, you know what? There are things that you don't learn in necessarily appraisal class. And so that's why the more case studies you can get involved in evaluating deals, that's where the risk is. And even as a wholesaler, you have the least amount of risk as a wholesaler. But who are you going to be selling these properties to a lot of times?
Everybody.
Rehabbers. A lot of times, right? Rehabbers are end users. People that are going to live in the property. Do you have to speak the rehabbing language? Yes. The more effectively you can speak the language of a rehabber. That's why my business partner, Paul, who actually knows more about rehabbing than me. Why? Because he manages the projects. He and his brother manage all our different rehabs that go on. That's why they're more effective at selling wholesale deals than even I am. I would say overall, when it comes to sales skills, maybe I'm a step ahead of them, but because they have that knowledge, they can communicate. So when they sit with Arnie, and Arnie's done 30 rehabs, Arnie's not going to buy your BS that you're talking about, it's only going to need 15 grand in work, right? So you have to be able to communicate. Or you talk to Paul. Maybe Paul's new, and there's some rehab aspects. Well, when you're selling a wholesale deal, if you have knowledge about what it takes to actually get that property sold, you'll have an advantage. So one of the things that I would tell you is, even though you may not get into rehabbing, study it, because it'll help you as a wholesaler. And here's an example. You're going to be selling properties, a lot of times wholesale deals, to new rehabbers who don't have a lot of experience. And they're going to have objections. Are they going to have objections, yes or no? Yes. Right? And here's the best description. I tell it through a story. We were sitting, we were in a house, showing a house, and I was with JD, who's our project manager, who has a very good knowledge of construction. And we were meeting with the wholesale buyer, and I was talking to him about the terms of the deal, how we're going to structure it. But he had a lot of objections about the property. And I just saw the fear in his eyes when he was looking at this property. One of the main support beams was cracked. One of the main support beams in the house. Very scary. It would scare most people away. Would it not? Yes or no? Yeah. Right? But I saw the way JD handled it. JD handled the objection. He said, here's the contractor you're going to use. He gave him a list of contractors that we like to refer out. He said, here's how we're going to help you. We're going to get you set up. In fact, we'll even get the contractor in here before we close the deal. I'll make sure I get him in here today. Get you a quote on this. He'll put that quote in writing. You then will have the knowledge, and I know that'll probably get you over the fear of this small problem. It wasn't a huge problem. It was a huge problem for somebody that didn't have the knowledge. As a result, signed the contract, deal was done. And so that's just a story that shows you how having knowledge is power. If you're just wholesaling, you've never done a rehab, or you're just wholesaling, you don't have that knowledge, I'll tell you what, it's tougher to sell deals. It is. Because sometimes you will have to sell the deal. You'll have to sell the deal. Most of the time you want to have such a good, effective marketing campaign, there's so much equity, you don't even have to worry. I mean, the deal will sell itself. But not every deal will sell itself. Anybody ever done a wholesale deal they had to sell to the rehabber? Anybody? Right? I know there's people in here. Yeah. It'll happen all the time. So that's why it's invaluable. So let's go through it. Are you guys ready? Everyone stand up. We've got to shake it out a little bit. Tim, turn to somebody, introduce somebody you haven't met, say hi, 1 minute, exchange a business card, say hello.
Hey, how
all
are
right,
you?
stop writing things about Mike. Very nice to meet you.
I will. I won't
all right. All right. So let's talk about evaluating deals, because this is where the risk is. So you as an investor, you have to understand that the quicker you can evaluate deals, the more efficient you're going to be. Can you look at more leads from sellers if you can evaluate deals in 10 minutes or less? Sure. Because here's a problem that I had. Early on, I would spend like 6 hours looking at one deal, and I realized at the end of the deal, I shouldn't have even been looking at it. I would go down, drive by, ran some comps. I was doing things out of order. And so, for example, can I pick on you?
Yes.
What's your name?
Well, if you're going to pick on me, I won't tell you.
Tyree?
Yes.
Tyree said, I have a list of, I don't know, it was like 500 people or 100 people?
I have 600 probate names.
600 probate names.
Okay, but then 300 with property.
Okay. So what she said is I started pulling comps, I started doing this, and I said, stop. Why the hell are you pulling comps when you haven't got a lead yet? Right. Doing things out of order. And that's common. I did a lot of things out of order when I started. Stop. Just get the lead, then we'll figure out the rest, right? You want to be efficient with your time. So how do you do that? Well, guess what? I'm going to give you an idea of what the system looks like. Here's how I do it. And I'll time people in my office. Initially, this was me. I'd go out and meet with every property, right? I had a screen. How many of you have a sheet like this that you have printed out on your desk that you can take the information in from a seller? How many of you have those? Printed out, sitting on your desk. All right, if you don't, that's one of the things that you need to do is you need to print up 30. Do you have them? Yes, you have them in my course. You have them in my course, print out 30. Now, eventually, when you get a lot of leads, you'll have to move to a database. Eventually. But right now, just start with paper. Very simple, right? Then what happens is once you gather the information, you got to run comps. You got to run what? Comps. So here's how I evaluate a deal. Because here's where I wasted a lot of time. Early on, I didn't have good access to comps. So I pulled some RealQuest comps. I pulled some comps that were incomplete. And I went out and I met with a lot of sellers I shouldn't have been meeting with because I had inaccurate information. The more information you have and the easier you can decipher it online, the more deals you can look at. So you have to be comfortable using a computer. You have to be comfortable pulling the information up online and evaluating what's good and what's not. And then you have to get comfortable making verbal offers over the phone. Because a lot of the deals, here's how the deals look. If 20 leads came into your office, let's say all you got was 20 calls from sellers. Here's more or less going to be the deal breakdown. Of 20, you should probably look at 2 to 3 at the most. The other 17, you got to weed out and say those are not good deals. You're going to know the top 5 or 6. There's always going to be 5 or 6 that are listed on the market. Are those generally good deals? As soon as I find that information out, I know there's a 99% chance that deal sucks because it's just not selling. It's overpriced. Hello, wake up. The market has changed, right? More often than not, 6 of those deals are going to be listed, just bad deals. I have very rarely seen a listed property that's a good deal. In fact, of the 300-plus properties we've bought and sold in the past couple of years, you want to know how many were listed on the MLS? How many do you think? 8. We bought a couple REO properties, bought a couple properties early on. What were our worst mistakes? The ones we bought on the MLS. You got to get off the MLS. We operate off the MLS. We sell on the MLS. You can use that as a selling strategy, but you're not going to rely on a realtor to just send you deals. It's not going to happen. So you have to realize that you have to be able to get information quickly so that you can look at more leads. If you can look at more leads, can you buy more properties, yes or no?
Yes.
If you can do it in 10 minutes or less, can you buy more properties?
Yes. Yeah.
So you have to get a familiarity with your local market, and this is why I always say start out local. Some people like to go far and wide to find properties. I think there's more risk when you do that. Can you do it and make a lot of money? Yes. But there's more risk when you're not there able to look at it. You have to have someone on the ground you can trust. That doesn't always happen. So I think the further you go, the risk grows. That's just my opinion. Now, when you're talking about buying bigger commercial apartment buildings, things like that, that's really when you may want to look outside your area. In Connecticut, the long-term growth rates are pretty crappy. So if I was going to buy a 100-unit building, it wouldn't be in Connecticut. I factor those things in. But if you're flipping single-family, multifamily homes, small apartment buildings, locally I think is the best. So you get access to the information, you weed out those deals. Well, what else is going to happen? 6 deals are going to instantly be bad. Listed, overpriced, it's just going to happen. They're calling you for one reason or another. Signed, email campaign, direct mail campaign. Then 2 or 3 are going to be good. You're normally going to buy 1 out of 20, maybe. Every 20 to 25 calls that comes in, we're buying about 1 deal. That's the ratio. So you might want to look at 2 or 3. But what about the other ones? Well, there's another 6, 7, 10 leads that come in. Of those 10 leads, some are going to be unlisted and they're going to be unrealistic about their price, right? The other 3 or 4 that exist in there, those are great listings, but they're still overpriced. So what do? I refer them out. Write this down. You can make a lot of money and pay for your whole marketing campaigns for the year by just referring listings to a good agent and somehow getting paid. If you're an agent, guess what? You can get a 25% referral fee. If you're not an agent, can you have them pay you in other ways? Yes. They can pay for co-branding some of your marketing campaigns. So if you're not an agent and Paul's an agent, and I refer you a listing, you make $5,000 on the commission, I'm going to ask for 25% back, but you're going to pay for one of the next marketing campaigns that go out. I might throw you on the back of the flyer, but I'm going to be on the front of the flyer buying houses. I'm going to have a couple of my houses I'm going to be selling on the back. I'll put your information there as well, but you're going to pay for the whole campaign. That's how you get paid legally. That's how you get paid. Why? They're co-branding. It doesn't matter if they paid for 100% or 5%. They derive a benefit from it. So let's get back into this. Well, what are we going to do with those leads in between? We're going to make verbal offers. What are we going to do?
Verbal offers.
That's why you have to get good at running comps. Because what I like to do is they want 200. I look at the property. It looks like the after repair value is somewhere around 230. Are you going to buy this property?
No.
Probably not. No. So you got to get it down to maybe 160, 170. Well, I'm not going to go look at that property. I'm going to ask them if there's some sort of overwhelming motivational factor. I'm going to make a verbal offer. And I'm going to say, right now I can't guarantee you because I haven't seen the property, but here's more or less the ballpark that we'd probably be in. Paul, I understand you want $200,000 in today's market. You're not going to get that. I'd be somewhere in the 150 to 160 range. I know I haven't seen the property, but that's probably the range that we'd be in. Is that something to work for you? Paul says, hell no, I know the lead's done, and I'm on to the next one. Right? Paul says, well, if you could do 175, 180, I might be able to do that. I just have to check with my wife. All right. Well, maybe that's close enough where I know if I get to the house, I can negotiate another $10,000 off. And this is where I differ from some people. Some people say just make offers, don't ever go out to the property, just send out offers, it's just a numbers game. We've gotten so many deals where they wanted 180, and we got to the property and we signed it up at 160 when everything was said and done. Because we took a deal that was thin and we made it fat enough to make it a good deal. Because we were there in person building rapport. There is something to be said for going out there, because this is where Preston and I disagree a little bit. Preston says, I don't go out and look at all that. There's so many deals we've gotten done because we're there in person, we're negotiating equity right there on the spot, building rapport, making them wake up that their house is not worth what they think it's worth, and getting it done. But it has to be close enough to go look at. Meaning I have to see $20,000 in profit, and I know I'm going to rehab this property. Well, I just got to get them down another 10, and this is a deal. Right? That happens all the time, and you can get it done. So what do? We evaluate it in the office. Then one of the things that you actually have it in the course right here, is we evaluate the deals on a spreadsheet to figure out what we're going to offer. And this gives us the confidence when we go out to make an offer. When we get to the house, we have a repair list we fill out. And what you want to do is you want to present an offer. Because I used to not present offers when I was at the house, when I was starting out, because I didn't really know what to offer. Or maybe there was 8 family members there, and I felt a little awkward. And I said, I'm going to call them back with an offer. Don't. You'll lose deals. Make that offer on the spot. But the whole system works like that. What it does is the leads come in, you run the comps, you run these basically comparables to get an estimate of what you do. You drive by the property, you go out there, you estimate repairs, and you put a contract on the property. Always make offers. I know I did that. That's basically a 3-day event packaged into about 5 minutes. I realize that's where the risk is. There a lot of risk in evaluating deals, yes or no? Yeah, definitely. So what you do is you have a process for everything that you do. I'll give you an example. Here's all the different. This is one thing that's awesome that I use. Do you guys have some system to evaluate the profit potential of a deal? Yes or no? Who's got a system that they use right now? What do you do?
I got a spreadsheet.
Okay.
It's a spreadsheet that we have manufactured that works, calculates everything. You plug in a number, it tells you.
That's pretty much exactly what this is. You plug in the after repair value. What you do is you plug in the estimated rehab cost. Now, over the phone, that's going to be a rough estimate until you get to the property. But you can plug in the estimated holding time if you're going to rehab it, the estimated purchase price, and it gives you an estimated profit. The reason I use it is I used to use an envelope. Anybody ever gone out to a house and negotiate on the back of an envelope? Any ever done this? That is a risky way to do the business. We bought and sold a house. We bought a property. We went out there. I negotiated the deal, did the rehab, sold the property. 7 months later, we made $1,232. And I learned a lot, right? And what I said to my partners, Paul goes, you got to have some sort of system. What the hell are you doing? He goes, tell me what happened at the house. And I said, well, we started negotiating, and I started coming up on my price, and I started cutting the profit margin. Now, I'll realize I didn't think I was going to make $1,000, but I went from a deal that was like 35, and I said, we can make 20 on it. And then we opened up the rehab, and it took a little longer to sell. At the end of the day, it was too thin. And the reason is because I didn't know the true cost of where I was going in the negotiation, because what I was doing was on the back of an envelope. That's not the way to do the business. So what I do now is I'll print out 3 of these before I go to the property with different scenarios, drive by the subject property, drive by the comps, and all of a sudden what I do is I have an accurate estimate. When I know when I'm walking in the door that I'm going to offer $150, if I walk inside and it looks a little bit more banged up, I'm just going to adjust down just a little bit, maybe $145 with my offer. But I know exactly when I'm meeting with the seller, exactly what I'm going to offer, so that I can do what? I can build rapport. You don't want to be sitting there with a spreadsheet going through. You want to be relating to the seller, because there's nothing better than learning how to negotiate by building rapport and getting the seller to trust you. You can get $20,000 knocked off the price just because they like you. You can.
Do you control the whole thing, or do you actually sit there and listen to the whole story and then
You better believe I listen. That's all I do. Is I ask questions and I listen. And then what they say is how I negotiate. So if I were meeting with you and you were, let's say you had lived in the house 30 years, and let's say you were 65 years or 60 years old, right? And your husband just passed away. I'm going to listen to this because I know one of your factors is, okay, she's lived here a long time. What's going to motivate her besides money?
have a place to live?
Okay, another place to live. Do you think at that age that she's going to have an attachment to that house? Is she going to need help moving? So I've gotten all these clues that are building up my case to negotiate, right? So now I can negotiate. And one of the biggest things is that fear of moving. And so what I'd do is I'd say, Sally, here's the way we can help you. Number one, we're going to make you an offer on this property. More importantly, I know right now that moving is probably a scary situation for you, is it not? Yes. I get these small yeses that lead to the big yes, which is the deal, right? Well, here's what we do, and here's how my company works. I realize that fact. I have somebody in my office who will, I guarantee you, find you the apartment you need. She will walk you through the whole process. Now, how much is this going to cost me? Well, it's going to cost maybe $50, $60 of time from somebody in my office. But I probably just dropped the price, $5, $10 grand. You know, this is how it works in a negotiation. These are the essentials to negotiating. That's why role-playing and going through this, probably one of the most valuable things that you could do is go out on an appointment with somebody that knows what they're doing and listen to what they say and how they negotiate. You'll make more money negotiating than you will any other area of the business. Is that true, yes or no? Yes. Has anybody ever been in a negotiation, you said something, all of a sudden the price dropped 10 grand and you're like, holy shit, what did I say? Did anybody ever have that feeling? Well, I got to write that down. That was good, right? Little technique, I'll give you a little. You want a little tip to make a lot of money? Yeah. All right, it's worth your investment. Whatever you paid to come to this course is worth the investment right here. Do not ask the seller what they're looking to sell the property for if they're behind. You know, this is very simple. I don't always ask them. I don't open up with, what are you looking to sell the property for? First, I want to find out the debt. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to assume most of the time, unless they have a huge amount of equity, that they're going to sell for the debt or close to it. So if I was negotiating with you, and you let's say your property was worth $200,000 as it sits right now, and you owed, I'm just going to throw out a number, let's say you owed $120 on the property. I wouldn't open the negotiation by saying, Paul, what are you looking to sell the property for? Because you're going to say $200 grand. You're going to say, what's your neighbor's house sold for next door? I know you're behind on payments. You know, I want to find out you're behind on payments first. And I'm just using this as, let's just say this one scenario. So I know Paul's 3 months behind on payments. I know his credit's getting trashed. I'm not going to ask him what he's selling the property, because where is the negotiation going to start from? 200 grand. It's hard to get 200 to 130, what you want to buy it at. It's impossible. It's hard to get them down. It's easier to start low. So what I'll do is I wouldn't say, Paul, what are you looking to sell the property for? Once I had the information, I'd say, Paul, okay, give me an idea. I understand that this house you can't afford right now and you're looking for another situation. If I could make you an offer that you like and help you find an apartment, why am I saying that? An additional benefit that doesn't cost a lot of money. Right? I'll pull up a list of apartments printed out from Craigslist, from wherever. Guess what? It takes me 5 minutes, done. I'll show up at the house with that list before the negotiation, even in the contract's even signed. So I'd say, Paul, if I could do that and make you an offer, and is that your number one goal, to just make that transition and start rebuilding your credit? Or what's your number one goal here? Right? To get some information to use in the negotiation. And then what I would say is, Paul, right now I understand you're about to lose the equity that you have. I realize that. Is your goal right now, I'm assuming your goal is just to kind of get rid of this overwhelming burden, get rid of this house right now. I'm assuming is probably your number one goal, is just to get rid of and relieve yourself from this debt. Yes. So in my mind, that's around 120. That's around 130. And I'll lock that in. I'll say, I'm assuming right now, if I can just relieve you of this debt, you'll sell the property for what you owe and get rid of this and get on to another situation. And then I might get an objection. No, I need some money. Well, at least I need some money is not $200,000. That's $80,000 in equity. I need some money is how much? 10, 15, 5. So I might say, okay, well, I assume you need a couple $1,000s to put in your pocket and put a down payment on your apartment. Pay the first month's rent, put some money in your pocket. So maybe $5,000 or $6,000. Well, I need a little bit more. Well, now at least we're around like 130, 140 when I'm starting the negotiation instead of 200. Just one little trick. That's why you don't ask that way. You start low, and that way you're starting from a lower standpoint when you get to the property. Because a lot of people, $80,000, it's just way too, they can't even fathom what they do for $80,000. Or a lot of times I ask up front, well, do you have outside debts you have to pay? Oh, and I know he's got $7,000 in credit card debt, so what I would say is, well, here's what I can do. If I could help you pay that credit card debt off, get rid of this mortgage, and get you your first month's rent on your apartment, I'm assuming that would be enough for what you're looking for right now, considering the situation. And then we're starting from a lower standpoint. Does that make sense, yes or no? Yeah. Was that helpful to anybody, yes or no? Yeah. Good. Realize that's how, yeah, quick question.
When you pre-screen the properties before you actually go out and meet with the seller, do you have the figure that they want to sell it for?
Yeah, I do. I get to that figure. I just back into it another way. I don't ask, what are you looking to sell the property for? I go down this whole line of reasoning with him. Now, if I know he has $250,000 in equity, I'm not going to ask him, are you looking to sell the property for what you owe? That's stupid, right? They're not going to do that. I'm going to say, give me an idea. What's your ideal goal? Do you have other outside debts you're looking to pay off and, put a little bit of money in your pocket? Give me an idea, how much is your outside debts? And I back into the number rather than go, so I don't start from a high point. And then it's a whole other world of difference. Believe me, try it. You'll realize it's complete flip-flop in the way you think, and guess what? It may be counterintuitive to think that way rather than just asking them, but guess what? You will make a lot more money doing it. All right, let's move on. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go through, talk a little bit about negotiating. You guys want to be better negotiators, yes or no? Yeah. All right, let me ask you, who's been in sales before, sold anything, from Girl Scout cookies to sales, been in a direct sales job, right? Have you ever been in it? Sales, is this a sales business?
Yes.
You better believe it is. I didn't realize how much of a sales business it is. From the time you meet with the seller, you're negotiating. You're selling them on selling you the house. Then from the time that you're meeting with a contractor to work on the rehab, are you selling him on showing up on time?
Yep.
Yeah. Right? Are you selling him on actually finishing the job? Yeah. Now, when you're negotiating with a bank, are you selling them on accepting your offer? Yes. It's a sales business. So you have to improve your sales skills. One of the best books I ever read was by Zig Ziglar. Write this down. Does anybody know what Zig Ziglar? Yeah. Right? I'm dating this red-headed girl. He talks like this. Great book. I drew a blank right now. Damn it, I was going to tell you the name of the book, but I'm going to have to figure it out. I'll tell you later. How about that? It's his best book. Has anybody read it? It's about that thick. No. That's Dale Carnegie. Okay. That's not it either. God. I'll figure it out. I'll get that information to you.
Just Zig Ziglar on the computer on the list.
Yeah, it is an excellent book. I'll get it on sales. This is a sales business. And I'll give you an example. One of the first times, you guys all know subject to deals. Has everybody heard subject to, taking over a property subject to? Right? Leaving the mortgage, the seller's mortgage in place, taking title of the property. That's the way you finance the deal. Well, first time I realized this was a sales business was when I lost $30,000. I lost the deal. It cost me $30,000 in profit. Luckily, I didn't lose $30,000. I lost the deal that I would have made $30,000 on because I was sitting across from the seller. I was negotiating a subject-to deal just like I had learned, and then all of a sudden the seller had an objection. Said, Than, how do I know you're going to make my payments? You know what I said? I didn't know how to answer the objection, so I kind of faked it. I ended up leaving that house without a contract because I had instantly killed rapport. Instantly. Has anybody ever had an objection and you feel like at the end of the day, you're driving home and said, oh, I could have said this. Anybody ever had that? Yeah. Who's had that thought before? Oh, damn it. I didn't get that date. I could have said this. right? Or I didn't get the appointment. I didn't get this because I could have said this. Well, I lost 30 grand because I didn't have a system for handling objections. You think I have a system for this too? Yeah. Well, the moment I left that house, I realized, you know what? I just lost a lot of money by not getting that contract. And I drove by that property 3 weeks later, and I saw my competitor's sign stuck right in the yard. Bill, that bastard. I called Bill up. Bill's a friend of mine. He's a good guy, older investor at the time. He's stopped investing since, actually. He's kind of retired. He's been doing it a while. But Bill, I called him up and I said, Bill, what'd you offer for the property? He had offered the same amount that I had offered. I couldn't believe it. I said, oh, did you buy it cash? Because at the time, I didn't have the cash to buy that property. I didn't have it. I didn't think it was worth it. I thought it was a little too thin for just bringing cash or coming in with a mortgage, right? And so what I did is I asked him, and I said, no. I said, I didn't buy it cash. I bought it subject to. So what had Bill done that I had not? Handled the objection. Yeah. So that one objection made him close to 30 grand. 30 grand. That one objection. And that's when I said, I got to get better at selling. I got to get better at handling objections.
How do you answer it?
Ah, that's a great question. Who wants to answer it? Anybody want to be on the spot? Who wants to come on down? Come on down. Everyone, tell everyone your name, where you're from. Once again. All right. Let's put him on the spot here. Let's see what he's got. Ashley. How many of you think Ashley's going to do a good job?
Yeah.
How many of you think Ashley's not going to get the deal? All right, well, we'll evaluate it. They got a lot of faith in you, Ashley. All right, let me give you the mic here. I'm going to ask you. You're the investor. I'm the seller. I'm Sally. Sally seller. Sally seller, right? You're Bobby buyer.
All right.
All right. How do I know that you're going to make my payments?
My company guarantees everything we do.
Okay.
And we'll take care of the payments for you. You won't have to worry about any taxes, any repairs, anything else to go on with this property. You can move on with your life, and we'll take care of it. And as soon as it's sold, you'll know about it.
Okay.
Save your credit.
Give me an idea, though, but so I got to get this straight. So the mortgage is going to stay in my name, and you're going to make the payments. But what happens if something happens to you or your company or something like that? How do I know that that's guaranteed? I'd rather just have cash.
This doesn't fall in our parameters for cash. There's deals we can make and get them done if the seller is willing to participate with us. Okay.
Well, what if something happened? I just don't have any guarantees. What if you passed away? What if something tragic happened?
Well,
this is my mortgage. It's staying in my name. I am concerned about that. How are you going to address that?
That's a good point there, Sally. But what we'll do is my company's going to take care of it.
Okay. All right. First of all, I'm going to analyze it. I'm going to break it down. That deal, in my opinion, first of all, give him a round of applause. Give him some love. That's a hard. It's hard to meet one-on-one with a seller, and then it's harder to do it in front of 50 people. Yeah. Right? That deal's not getting done. Not getting done. Maybe if they're really motivated and they don't really care and they don't really understand, they just like the price. Yes, small percentage. But I'm going to tell you, most people, that's not going to get it done.
Okay.
And that was the exact. I was much worse than that. You were 100 times better than the first time I tried to say it. Right? I literally instantly killed rapport. Right? First thing I can tell you about the way you handle it, you were too slow. I'm a fast talker. Even I was talking fast with you. Talk a little faster.
Okay.
That's the first one little tip. But the way I handle it, you guys want to hear me handle it?
Yeah.
All right. Have a seat. Give them a round of applause. So the first thing is you got to know the scenario. Every scenario is a little different. So I should have painted out a scenario. I should have given them a little bit more of an advantage in answering the objection. But here's the best way. If you're giving the seller, well, let's make some assumptions, and I'll answer the objection. Let's say you're offering $100,000 and they owe $90,000. So how much are they going to walk away at the closing table? Less than 10, probably about 8, right? 7, right? Closing costs are going to walk away with $7,000. So they're going to walk away with some money. So here's the scenario. This is the way I'd handle it. Now, if they're not walking away, I'll answer it this way as well, but with any money. It's a little tougher objection if they're not walking away with money. First thing that I would do is I'd say, Sally, you try to match their rate of speech. You try to match. If they're older and they're slower, you talk slower. You're much more thorough. They're from New York and they're Italian, right? This is the way we're going to do it. And you go right through just match what they're doing. So, the one Italian and the whole room's laughing, right? So, what you do is very simple. I'd say, Sally, here's what's going to happen. And I understand your concern. The first thing you do is you recognize their concern. I didn't hear that. The first thing you should have said is, I understand your concern. Most of the time, they just want to be heard. Now, a lot of times, they do have a true objection. But a lot of times, they want to know that you've actually heard them. And so what I would do is I'd say, Sally, I understand your concern. In fact, that's the number one question that I get, because I always, this is very common to structure a deal this way, and this is the way I always structure it. It's standard. So what have I said about this way we do this?
She's like everybody else.
It's like everything else, it's standard. What does everybody want? Standard. They don't want to be abnormal. They want to be standard. So I'd say, Sally, I understand your concern. In fact, this is the number one question that I'm always asked whenever we structure the deal this way, because it's pretty standard. It's very simple. So I make it seem simple and standard. Write that word down, standard. That's a beautiful word. This is a standard agreement. You don't say this is a contract to sell your house. This is a standard agreement. Oh, standard. I love standard. Right? Just a little tip for you. The way you word something will get deals done. And most people don't teach this. Most people, they tell you to put up a sign. They tell you to get a realtor to run you some comps. Thanks. That's going to put you out of business. All right? That doesn't help. So little things like this. So let's go through this. So normally, this is a great thing about this event is you can get into some more of the details without having to go through your whole pitch. So I like doing this. So getting back to this objection, I'd say, Sally, I understand your concern. This is a very standard way that we structure it, and I understand it. It's very simple. Let me explain exactly how it works. And the first thing I want you to do is I want you to understand from my standpoint. I want you to step into my shoes. You're going to walk away with around $8,000. I'm going to put up somewhere around $12,000 of my own money, cash, given to you. You're going to walk away with more or less around $8,000 of my money. I am not going to default on any mortgage when you have some of my hard-earned money invested in this project. That's the first thing I want you to understand. Secondly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to notify you every single time that I pay the mortgage. The mortgage, just so you know, is due on the 1st. It's late on the 16th. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pay the mortgage on the 21st, the month before, and I'm going to send you an email with confirmation, or I'll send you a letter. Which would you prefer, Paul? Letter. Okay. What did Paul basically do? Did he commit? He just kind of agreed. A little. It was kind of a yes. Oh, I prefer a letter. Oh, okay, good. Then we're doing the deal, right? I've already assumed we're doing the deal. So I'd say, Paul, great. You know what I'll do is, if you give me your email, I'll send you an email, and I'll send you a copy of the actual check that went out so it makes you feel more comfortable. I'll pay it on the 21st. It's not due to the 1st, so you'll know ahead of time that this is getting paid. Another thing that I want you to understand, Paul, I'm just going to change it to Paul. I like talking to somebody rather than this imaginary figure. Paul, the other thing that I'm going to do is, you know that I'm going to be buying and fixing this property up. I know you know it needs a lot of work. But I can do a project like this in about 3 months, and it'll take me about another 3 months to sell this property. So this mortgage will be out of your name in 6 months. Now, sometimes it may be 7 months, sometimes it may be 5 months. But on average, it's going to be about 6 months. So it's going to be in your name for a very short time period. Now, that's if you're flipping it. Now, if you're renting it, do you say that? No. You just change what you're saying, right? So what I would say is if I was going to hold it, I'd say, Paul, here's the great thing about doing the structuring it this way, because we always do this. Right now, I know your credit's getting hit. The one advantage is I'm going to bring this mortgage current. That's going to improve your credit right off the bat. And as I continue to make monthly payments, I'm actually going to be rebuilding your credit. How's that sound? Does it sound pretty good? Right? Get them to make small commitments along the way. And you handle the objection. Now, we call these link objections. Are there going to be more objections? Possibly. Sometimes, probably 50% of the time, that's enough to get the deal done subject to. If they have a further objection, or their attorney or somebody else has an objection, we call this a link objection. What do we call it? Link objection. So what I do, I'd say, Paul says, well, that's just not enough. That's just not enough. I said, well, Paul, why don't we do this? And I've done this in some cases, and if this will make you feel more comfortable, we can do this. Here's what I'll do, is I'll put 6 months' worth of payments. Now, this is if you have the capital to do this. If you don't, obviously you have to do something different. but I'm going to put 6 months worth of payments. Maybe that's $8,000. I'm going to put that in an escrow account, and then the third party is actually going to make the payments. So you know they have direction, you know they have the capital to do that. Would that make you feel a little bit more comfortable? Right? So you go through all these lines of reasoning, but you don't give away the house. Just don't say that to begin with, because now all of a sudden you've committed $8,000 that you didn't need to commit, right? So you're probably not earning interest on that over in that escrow account, and you could have it in your own fund. So these are the way you handle objections. Well, long-winded story to that objection. Guess what? After training, the first thing I did is I wrote down a script. And I started writing down every objection that I'd ever heard. And I started answering it. This is what will make you effective. Do this. Write this down. Implement this idea. Don't sit on this idea. Write it down. Implement it. Start 10 minutes every single day. How often? 10 minutes. How often? Every day. 10 minutes every day. Take 3 or 4 objections and practice them. Your offer's too low. Can you handle that objection? How do you handle that? The buyer doesn't like your property. The buyer doesn't like the color of the house. Oh, I really like it, but the kitchen, I don't know. The kitchen's just not set up. It's not big enough, or this. Well, here's one thing that we could do, And this is what my partner does. Here's one thing that we have this wall right here. Do you think it's just not the space isn't right here? Well, yeah, I think if it flowed in the living room a little bit better. Well, here's one thing that we could do. This wall could be removed. We could remove this wall for you, and it'll be a completely different feel inside. Completely different. In fact, let me do this. I'm going to show you another house that we worked on. I'm going to show you a picture of another house with a little bigger kitchen and how it flows into the living room to make this great room. And I know this house will seem much more expansive if we do that. Do you think if we did something like that for you and maybe made a couple more changes that were a little bit more fitting to your taste, you think this house would interest you? Right? Well, this is how you handle objections. You're going to get objections throughout. Do you get objections? You ever gotten the question? I always get the question from my girlfriend. Friday night, right? This Friday night we're going out. Honey, do I look fat in this red dress? Is that a trick question? Yeah. How you handle that, does that determine your success? Does that determine Does that determine your success? Whether you're going to get lucky that night, or the whole next week, or the whole next month? Well, guess what? In real estate, it's a communication business. It's not a bricks and sticks and mortar business, like they say. It's how you communicate. How effectively you market, and then how effectively you communicate will determine your success as a wholesaler. A lot of times. A lot of times. Gotcha. A lot of times. So, that's one thing when it comes to negotiating deals. Here's a great example. Is meeting with sellers challenge. Who's ever met face-to-face with a seller at the kitchen table? Anybody ever had an awkward thing happen at the kitchen table? A funny story, anything that anybody wants to share? There's always somebody that's got some. Yeah, what'd you get?
Cockroaches crawling about across the back of my neck.
Did you really? Man, that must have been in a nice neighborhood, right?
It was. The house was just a wreck.
I've had some funny situations. You have to really be calm and cool, and that's why you have to know your objections. You have to know what to say, because then you're going to get thrown into a scenario where you're handling that objection, and you have a Doberman looking at you, literally 5 feet away, barking, interrupting you. Do you think you have to be good with what you say then? Yeah, so that's why you have to practice, right? One thing blessing that I had early on in life, I played football in high school, college, and the pros. Early on in my high school career, I got to watch Jerry Rice practice. And I know some people say, what the hell does this have to do with real estate investing? It has everything to do with it. Because it was an unbelievable experience for me as a high school senior. Before my senior year, I went and watched him practice with the 49ers. For those of you who don't know who Jerry Rice is, he's probably the best receiver that ever played the game, bar none.
In the airport coming over.
Did you? Really? Yeah. That's funny. It's an unbelievable athlete. But what was amazing is when I saw him show up, I was there early. I was there early with my dad, and he took me to this. It was the best experience I ever had at that time for what I was doing. And he was the first one out. He was out there more than half an hour before all the other players. And he was warming up, running his routes, going through. It was. I have never seen a man more focused than anything in my life. There was nobody out there. Then when he practiced, every ball he caught, he would catch a 5-yard hook, 5-yard slant. He'd run 80 yards down the field. He was the only player that finished every play in the end zone. Only one. And he'd come back, wait the next rep, and he'd go again. And I saw and then when the quarterbacks were done, It was unbelievable. Steve Young was the quarterback at the time. Steve Young was out there throwing passes. Well, Steve Young went in. He grabbed one of the younger quarterbacks, and he said, I want you to throw me. And he was running routes for about 30 minutes, 40 minutes after practice. And I looked at that and I said, that's why he's the best. So I'm going to tell you, when it comes to being an investor, you're going to have to commit time to your education. Sure, the late-night infomercials are going to tell you that you don't, that you can get rich quick. And you can get rich quick, but you're going to have to attribute a certain amount of that to practice. And it's 10 minutes a day. If you want to be good at this, you can make an extra $100,000 depending on what you say and how you say it and what you do. You want another example? Yes. Here, I'm going to give you a tip that's worth the whole price of this whole investment in this seminar right here. And I tell it through a story. I call this the Dave Trombetta story. If you ever meet Dave Trombetta, you'll laugh because he's a funny guy, right? Dave Trombetta came to my office. And here's a little tip, and then I'll tell you the story. The tip is, to get someone to sign a contract, is that easy? Who said yes? You must be real good, because it ain't always easy. They're selling the biggest asset of their life. More often than not, a seller may sell a home twice in their life. More often than not, they have their life savings on the line. So no, it's not easy. In fact, real estate investing is a complex sale. Because you're working with such a big asset to the person. It may be a $100,000 house to you, but to them, it's their life. And so you're signing an agreement for that house. So it's not easy. But you can make it easier. Well, one of the objections you'll get a lot of times is they may want to consult with their uncle, their big brother. They may want to consult with their wife who's not on title. They may want to consult with their attorney. Has anybody ever gotten this objection? Well, I just want to think about it, kind of let it resonate, and I want to have my attorney look at the deal. Right? Anybody ever gotten that objection? You'll get that. Or you'll say, I want to get, my father really kind of advises me on some of these bigger issues, so I'd like to have him look at the deal. Right? And they won't sign it. Well, what I do is I say, this is a tip that's worth the whole investment because this will happen to you. Right? The attorney objection in my area is very common. I've gotten it so many times. Well, I want to have my attorney look at the agreement. And as long as it checks out with him, then I think we'll be able to go forward. Well, what happens with a seller is a seller justifies whatever they do. If they sign, they justify why they signed. So they tell their family, this is why I made the decision, so they don't look bad. If they don't sign, they start to look for reasons why they're not going to do the deal. Well, I didn't sign because there's something that was holding me back, right? Then they talk to the attorney. The attorney gives them some bad advice. Attorney says, you'll get a higher price. Whatever attorney's going to say. Right? Screw it up. So any attorneys in here?
Or they'll buy the deal themselves.
Well, you occasionally get that. But the thing is, you've got to get them to sign. Even if you have a contingency. And so what I do is I say, no problem. I'm dealing with Paul again. Paul, I understand your concern. No, that's not a big issue whatsoever. Here's what we always do. So what do? Here's what we always do. Here's what we always do. What we always do is this. Here's what we always do, Paul. If you want to have your attorney, I got no problem. Do you think you'll be able to meet with your attorney maybe in the next 24 hours and get this, have him take a look at it? Sure. Right? Here's what we'll do. We'll just write in subject to your attorney's approval within a 24-hour period. Right? So just sign this. What we'll do is that means if the attorney doesn't like the agreement, you have every right to get out. Does he have every right? Yeah. It's subject to his attorney's approval. For how long? 24 hours. You know what's interesting? Most of the time, they won't even go to the attorney. They just justify why they signed. Right? Right? That's a negotiation. That was worth the investment because I guarantee you'll get a deal this year. If you market heavily, you'll get a deal this year. Well, that scenario will happen and you'll get the deal done because that's the way it's handled. And so, Paul, you'll walk away with that agreement. Sometimes they will go to the attorney. But now they've signed, so they're probably going to be more positive about why they signed to the attorney because your attorney, Arnie, you're not going to want to seem like an idiot for signing this agreement. So you're going to say, well, it's really a slow market. And I know the offer's a little low, but the guy's credible, and I don't know if I'm going to get that much higher. I may get a little bit higher, but it may sit there for 6 months. And then the attorney's going to say, well, if that's what you want to do, no problem. I can do it. Now, if he didn't sign and he took the agreement to his attorney, he might say this other language. He might say, well, Arnie, I don't know. I wanted you to have you look at it, see what you think about it. Tell me, well, who is this guy? Well, I don't, I'm just an investor. I meant. The whole language is different based off what they did, right? And it gets the deal done. Very true. Happens all the time. So
subject to whatever objection they have.
Yep. Subject to. So, now, meeting with sellers can be trying. I met with a seller once. I met with some crazy situations, but one of my favorite was meeting with the wife, and the husband was here as a divorce situation off a divorce mail campaign. She picked up the salt and pepper shaker, and she Roger Clemens it right at him. I have never seen anything like that, and I'm negotiating the deal. Subject to, no less. Right? And so, this is one of my boot camps that we have. Right? This is from Jason and Tim. They're out of Jacksonville. Any from Jacksonville? You might even know them. Jason and Tim. They do a lot of short sales, very successful guys up there. Right? This is what they encountered when they went out on the meeting. Right? Rover, four-legged friend. Rover was sure excited to see Tim. Right? Negotiation started to heat up a little bit. And so Jason was taking pictures of Tim with the dog, and it was so funny as the seller, and this is what they did. He said the whole time they were negotiating the contract, Tim was standing there in the kitchen, and the dog was like attached to the hip, and Jason's over there negotiating the deal, right? Right? Well, at the end of the day, they made $38,000. And you know what the seller said? The seller said, you know what, I like you. I like you guys. You know, you guys have presented yourself in a professional manner. You had a credibility packet that you've dropped off. I really like doing business with you. And you know what? My dog likes you too. Right? Well, let me ask you this question. I want you to answer honestly. How many of you are going to let a dog hump your leg for $38,000? Anybody? All right. We got some shameless marketers in there. I knew it. Every time. All right. Here's what we're going to do. For about the next 20 minutes, I'm going to go through our buyer systems. Are you guys ready for this? All right. Are you awake?
Yes.
Are we excited?
Yes.
Damn it, Robert. Get with the program. All right. This is what we're going to end on. We're going to go through finding buyers. So, next 20 minutes, we're going to hit it hard. What are we going to do? All right, good. We're going to stay awake, alert, up in your chair. Come on, Gap, up in your chair. Where's your name tag? That's all right. There we go. Michael. All right, Michael. All right. What we're going to do is realize, here's the first thing you need to understand. The process is different when you're working with buyers. Process is different. There's a statistic from NAR, National Association of Realtors. And what they study is every realtor in America, and they put these statistics together to figure out trends. And I read these reports, these trends report. And I read this report recently, and it started to make sense. And I started to think about the way we market, and I said, you know what, that makes sense as to the way we market. And the trend is this, that the majority of buyers who contact a realtor, now could they be contacting you? Of course, if you're marketing the house, it's no different. But the majority of buyers that contact a realtor do not buy. From the time they contact, let's say Arnie's a realtor, they contact him, the majority of buyers do not buy for a 3 to 9 month period. So that means they contact Arnie, and then what needs to happen? Something needs to happen. They call this a sales process. It's taking a lead, building a relationship with it, converting it into a sale. Why? Well, think about it. A lot of newly married couples, are they scared when they're buying their first home? Yeah. A lot of people that maybe they need to clean up their credit, right? Maybe they need more of a down payment. They're not ready. They contact a realtor, find out what they need, and 99% of realtors lose the lead, right? 80% of businesses, the biggest thing that happens is they lose leads. They don't follow up. Well, when I started out, when the market was hot, it was easy to sell properties. For sale, some directionals, maybe we'd throw it on the market, maybe we wouldn't. We'd put out an ad and the house would sell. Business was easy, right? Business was easy. Woo, those good times. Good times. Woo! Is it changed? Yeah. Now, is it still easy? No. But if you have a system and you think differently about your marketing, I'll show you how much easier I can make it for you. That's the idea. How can I start eliminating the risk? How much is risk? People say, well, you shouldn't have system. You know, people say, gosh, I don't know if I always go to seminars, and I have my stuff that you already have, right? And I always offer it up. And people say, well, I don't know if I want to do this marketing system. I don't know if I have the money. I just don't know if I'm ready. I say, how much is one more? This is how I always justify it. This is a little trick. You guys want a little trick? You guys want a little trick? This is how I justify it. If someone's on the fence about investing in something, I'll tell them, here's the trick. How much is the mortgage payment you're paying on that? Who's carrying a house right now? How much is it per month for that house? $3,000. $3,000? Woo, this is going to be a great example. Right? $3,000. 20, whatever. 3 grand. So if you carry this house one extra month, it's $3,000. You know what I tell them? I tell them, if I show you a system that's going to cut that life for that house and every other house you list, is that of value? Yeah, that's what it does by having a system. So you make one mistake when it comes to finding buyers, or you don't have the strategies, guess what? There's another $3,000 out of your pocket. So you'd be dumb not to make that investment in a system. So to give you an idea, that's the way I break it down. Because it's true. It's true. Well, let me show you how you're going to use the system to really improve how you think about buyers. Well, when a seller, here's the difference. When a seller is hot and ready to sell, they're ready to go. A lot of times a motivated seller, it's like they're in denial. They go through all these 4 stages, and all of a sudden they wake up, they smell the coffee, and boom, first internet bandit sign they see, first newspaper ad they see, they're calling, and if they get Mike Collins on the phone, Mike, wake it up, Mike. If they get you on the phone, you're a pretty good negotiator, right? You know how to build rapport? A lot of times they're not going to call anybody else. They won't, because he offered a solution that was here and now. Well, with buyers, completely different. And here's where most investors struggle. Number 1, they lack marketing campaigns. Number 2, they don't have compelling marketing. Number 3, they market the property instead of marketing general benefits. Number 4, they don't understand and have enough strategies. Number 5, they don't have a system, and this is the most important, to build a relationship. And how are we? Do you think we're physically going to be picking up the phone to build this relationship? Do you think we're going to do that? Who thinks we're going to do that? Good. Everyone's smart. No, we're going to let the system do it for us. So let's break this down. You guys ready? Strap it on. We're ready? All right. Here we go. First thing you need to do is you need to think of differently. What's your most valuable asset? What is it? All right. How many business cards have you collected since you've been here? 12. Are there more than 12 people over here? Come on, man, you're slacking, right? Why? I know it's national. I know they're from all over, but I guarantee there's someone probably in your area that you haven't met yet. They can be on your buyers list. When you go to a RIA meeting, put them right in your list because that's what you do. RIA, Dan? Thanks, Dan. Dan's marketed to find every realtor, real estate investor in the area. Thanks, Dan. They're all in one room. I'm going to go there. I'm going to just meet people and greet. That's the value of a RIA. Go. I go every single month. Even if they have some speaker I don't want to hear, guess what? There's a value in being there where everyone's at because you'll do deals right there. You put them right on your list. Right in there. All right? Here's how we go. You got to have multiple strategies. How many strategies? Right. Auctions. Did I tell you about auctions? Yes. I told you about trade shows. Were those 2 good tips? Yes. You want a good one? Here's an awesome one. Right here. 720 credit score list. Just found out about this. Been doing it for a little while now. Mortgage broker, we get our 30, 60, 90-day list from. He said, you know what? I can pull up data of people that don't have a first mortgage, that have a credit score of 720 or better. And we can narrow it down to zip codes where you're selling houses at. I said, no crap. I said, are you kidding me? So they got good credit. They don't have a house unless it's paid off. So there will be a couple people on that list that do own the homes free and clear. But hardly anybody owns a home free and clear. Because if they have a mortgage, they're not going to show up on that list. If they have a mortgage, guess what? They're not going to show up. They already own a home. But I'm going to sell to these people. I'm going to sell homes to these people. And you know what else? I also found out another strategy. I'll give you a real good one. You ready for this? He said, you know what you can do is you can go there and you can pull the listing data from the MLS. I actually got a way to pull the list. This is too complicated. You guys want to hear this? Yeah. All right, good. Real quick. There's a way. Who needs to buy homes? People who are selling homes a lot of times. So if you can get that data, what we market to 720 credit score lists or better. We also market to a lot of people who are selling homes. We get the data right from the MLS. We send out our homes for sale. Sometimes, believe it or not, they're not working with the realtor actively that is listing to buy a home. Sometimes they are. But if I put a home in their hand, right there, they may have access to it. But this list, this is the one I really want to talk about because we've been getting some. Whoa! Everyone give them a round of applause. You always. Were you hanging out with Preston last night? Kind of. Whoa! Did one of those, huh? All right. So here's the difference of the way we market. I used to market the property. What did I used to market? The property. Okay. Now there still needs to be some marketing of the property for sale itself, especially if you only have 1 to 2 homes to sell, or you have 1 home. But the more you grow, the more this will apply. the more homes you sell. If you're a realtor and you have inventory and you have 2 investment properties you want to sell, great strategy. And you'll realize that you're going to have to get out of marketing the home per se a lot of times and start marketing a general benefit. Here's what I used to do. I used to market 3-bedroom. Let's say I was selling a house in North Tampa. 3-bedroom, 1-bath house, 1 bath, 1,000 square feet in North Tampa. How many of you are interested in moving into that home? Anybody?
What's it look like?
You don't know, Evan. You don't know, right? 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. A lot of times it's just a picture of the home. You don't really know. Not many people are interested in that. Let me ask you this. How many of you would be interested in marketing, or sorry, not in marketing, how many would be interested in saving $10,000 on the purchase of your next home? How many would be interested in that? Just show of hands. We got a couple more hands up? Right? 10, 12 more hands? Because here's what happened. I'd market the property, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,000 square feet. I'd throw it in a realtor book. Ooh, that's bad marketing. That's a worst compilation of marketing I've ever seen is those realtor books. You know why the realtors do that? To show their sellers that they're actually doing something, right? That crap does not work. So what you do is I started to do this. I used to put an ad in the paper. I get 1 phone call. Then they found out a little bit more about or they went by it. No interest. Then I changed the way I think about marketing. And so I started to change. And I'm going to give you an example. Here's an example. What I want you to do is I don't want you to look over here. I want you to look right here. Let's look at this guy. Shelby, right? Shelby, I don't know who he is, but that's his marketing campaign. And this is the number 1 mistake. The number 2 mistake is marketing the property a lot of times. So Shelby, what is he marketing there? What does he do? I mean, is he a male prostitute? Is he a mover? Is he a realtor? What's he do? The best move what does that mean? I'm assuming he's a realtor. I'm assuming just from the marketing because I've seen bad realtor marketing and I know it when I smell it and I see it and that's it. Now, in order for that to be effective, branding is tough to do when you're starting out. As a gorilla, you're not going to brand. You're not Pepsi. You're not Pepsi. Shelby would have to spend thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in a market for this to work. Hundreds of thousands. This is horrible marketing, right? I hope it says something better on the backside, right? Now, look at that. We don't even know what he does, right? Unless you're a single woman and you're interested in Shelby, that's not doing much. Now, look over here. Remember I asked you this question. What does everybody love? Who loves free in here, right? What was the appeal of part of this boot camp? You get everybody's material for what? Did that appeal to anybody? How many of you that appealed to? Put your hand up, honestly. Mike, here's a survey for you, right? Mike, look at this. Write this down. Case study, right? Half the crowd. I'm throwing out a number. Half the crowd liked free, right? How many of you like the no-pitch concept, right? Okay. Another 60, 70%, right? Put the two together, it's appealing. Very appealing, right? Well, what does everybody love? Free. What does everybody love? Free information. How many of you ever seen a brochure or flyer that says, call now for your free report and CD? Who's ever seen something like that? What are they trying to do there? Why? Because they want to market to you. What they want to do is get a lead and then somehow market to you probably less expensively than they did to generate that initial lead. Who knows Dan Kennedy? Who's on Dan Kennedy's email list? Who's on Dan Kennedy's email? Chris. Do you know Dan Kennedy personally? No. Okay, good. I don't know him either. Do you feel like you know him?
I feel like it.
Do you get emails from him every week, twice a week on average?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you know him?
You feel like you're getting to know him.
Let me ask you this. So you've never met the man. You've never met the man.
But I still send him money.
You still send him money. Isn't that awesome? But here's what's even better. If I were to ask you, Chris, I own a carpet cleaning business. No. Let's say I own a hairdressing salon. Salon. I own a hairdressing salon. I'm new to business, and I'm talking to you, Chris. I know you know a little bit about marketing. I say, Chris, I'm new to this. I really want to improve my marketing. Who should I study? What are you going to say?
I would say first word would be Dan Kennedy.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
He's never met the man. And he's referring him. Why is he doing that? Because Dan Kennedy has built a relationship with a computer. Dan Kennedy has no idea who Chris is. Dan Kennedy may not know who the hell I am, know who Mike Collins is. But he's built a relationship. Now, Chris is telling somebody. Then the hairdresser picks up Dan Kennedy. She tells somebody because he's built a relationship, he's automated the process, and it works. So why can't we apply this to real estate investing? Why can't we do that? Is there anything stopping us from doing that? No. So here's what we do. We get their contact information. What do we do? Get the what? What are we building? Your list, right? Special offer, free report, secret. You know, I have one here. Let me show you here. Secret, right? What's a big buzzword nowadays? What does everybody want to know? You want to, is the secret. How many of you have read, heard, or bought anything that has to do with the secret? Put your hand up right in the air, right? There's about $2,000, $3,000 that went right to the secret company, right? Why is that such a, is that new information or old information? Is that old information? Are you kidding me? They repackaged Napoleon Hill, put it up into another thing. No, it's good information, but it is old. Were all those concepts known before? Yes. What was it done? It was brilliantly marketed. And the name sold the whole thing. The secret. What does every housewife in America want to know? The secret of what's going on next door. What does every husband want to know? The secret. Everybody wants to know, right? So we incorporate this into the marketing and what we do. So we get a lot more. In fact, we saw our call volume go up by 10 times when we stopped marketing the house because somebody who wanted a two-bedroom, two-bath condo, did they call off my ad for 3-bedroom, 1-bath house? No. So we started to write this down, direct response marketing. Direct response means you offer them something in exchange for something. What do we want? Contact. What do we want to give? Information. How much do we want to spend to give it to them? As little as possible. Obviously, the more you spend, generally, maybe a little bit better relationship, right? So when Dan Kennedy sends Chris an actual direct mail piece, that means a little bit more to Chris than it does an email. But couldn't he do this relationship via email? Yeah. So here's what we do. What we do is we do that. We do this 720 credit score. I had all these strategies. Here's one. These are things that we do. We have all these little postcard campaigns that go out. You know, here, free report, stop paying rent forever. You know, we have all these benefits, all these things. Call us here. Guess what? Then, when they call or they log onto our website and we grab their name, we send them a free report. We send them a free report. And now, what we do is we trickle. What do we do? Trickle. Sometimes they call it drip. What I like to call it is buy or die. They're going to do one of the things with us. They're either going to buy a house from us or they're going to die. One of the things, what we're going to do is we're going to trickle to them. But what we're going to do in between is pre-screen them. What are we going to do? Pre-screen. So you got to pre-screen. We have a little system on paper. You can use the database. We use the database now. I recommend starting out on paper until you get big enough. Then you do that. But here's what we do, and here's how the value works. Let me ask you, Arnie, let's say Arnie has a 580 credit score. Now, is Arnie going to buy one of our houses right now? No, he's not going to buy one of our houses right now. He's not. Nothing wrong with that, Arnie, because you might need to get to a 620. So if I can help Arnie get to a 620, is he going to buy a home? Okay, so that may be 9 months. That may be 18 months. That may be 4 months away, depending on how quickly he improves his credit and what moves he makes. Now, most of the time, are you going to actually get on the phone and consult with Arnie to improve his credit? No. Most people don't. Most people don't. In fact, we wasted thousands of dollars in lost leads when we started. Huge mistake. If the buyer wasn't ready, willing, and able to buy, here's a crime that I committed, and it's a crime. I would get the lead. I'd fill out the pre-screen. I'd send it over to my mortgage broker. Mortgage broker would call me back. I'd say, not qualified. You know what I did with that lead? Trash. I did this for years. Then when the market turned, I said, whoa, we got to do something different. And so we started building these campaigns. And I said, you know what? Arnie knows people. I'm going to be the Dan Kennedy of selling homes in my area. But I'm going to do it via email. How much does email cost most of the time? Zip. If you're sending out a couple thousand, you might need an email provider that's a little bit less expensive. Write this down. Constant Contact is a great email provider that is low cost. There's all these different solutions, right? But that's a very low cost one to start out. Well, what we started doing is initially in Constant Contact, we started building out campaigns. So Arnie would contact me. I'd get his information. I'd give him a free report. I'd pre-screen him, found out he was a dead lead. And then what I would do is like a doctor of buyers would diagnose a remedy. His remedy is improving his credit. Maybe Arnie has great credit, but he doesn't have enough for a down payment. So, like a doctor, I diagnose his problem. Maybe Arnie is an investor with great credit, not enough money to close on one of your wholesale deals, but you know what you can do? You can hook him up with hard money. If I hooked him up with hard money and showed him a source that he had no idea existed, is there a good possibility he'd buy from you?
Yes, sure.
All right. So here's what we do, and I'm going to explain it 2 different ways. How many different ways? 2. All right, Preston. Everyone give Preston a round of applause. Where have you been, my man?
I was catching up with some work.
Oh. All right. All right. So what we do is this. You contact me, Arnie. Most people think you're worthless to me because you got 500. Arnie, you're worthless. What's wrong with you? Right? Most people do that. I did that for a number of years. I, like you, did that just the same. And then I started to realize Arnie's got a friend, Paul. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to help Arnie repair his credit. But I'm not going to do it personally. I'm going to hook him up with the best company that I can find. So I went out there and I found a company. Then what I did is I said, I'm going to create a and I realized this campaign, this company has no sales process. They stink, but they do a great job. So I created the sales process for them via email. Here's all the first 7 emails you'll get from me. Sell you on using the credit repair company so that you do it. And then if you don't do it, I'm still going to send you emails for a year that show you about how you can do it yourself. And a certain percentage, a very small percentage, actually do it. Actually do it. Very small percentage. But here, after having put this into effect a little over a year and a half ago, this is what we're starting to see. People are coming back to us, having done it. Small percentage. But you know what? What we're really seeing is we're seeing Arnie calling his friend Paul. Paul needed a home just like Chris was advising the hairdresser. Guess what? Paul has good credit. He knows Arnie. Paul's getting ready to buy a home. He talks to Arnie. Arnie doesn't know any realtors except something Griffin. And he refers Griffin. Why? Because Griffin's in front. What's the name again? Christina Griffin. But we don't care about Christina Griffin. Who do you care about? You. So they're going to start referring you because you have this continuous campaign. And how long did it take you to set this whole thing up? Not 18 months. No. How long? Click. Click. You put them into a campaign. Like a doctor, you diagnose their problem. Now, what happens? Paul calls me. Because Arnie says, well, you know what? I want to buy a house too, but I'm not really ready to go. My credit's kind of shot. I just haven't really done anything about it. But you know what? This one guy sends me emails all the time about buying houses, and he's got houses, and I know he sends me emails about the different houses he has for sale. You should call him. I bet you he can find you a house. In fact, I saw one the other day. All of a sudden, Paul's buying a house. Right? Now, Arnie, let's talk about wholesaling, because that's really for retail buyers. What about wholesalers? Well, guess what? Here's what happens. You go to a trade show, first thing that I'm going to do, and this may be a little bit out there, I go to a trade show, the first thing that I do is I send them a survey via the web to find out who they are. I want to find out, are they a homeowner, a retail buyer? Are they an investor? Are they a nobody? Who are they so I can start marketing to them? Well, if I met you, let's say I met you at a RIA. What would happen is this. I know you're a new buyer, newbie in the business. First thing you're going to get is an email from me saying, welcome to our club. This is our little investment network. I have properties all the time that are for sale. Here's the things that I'm going to help you. First thing, you're going to get a little ebook on how to get hooked up with hard money. Then you're going to get, it's not an ebook. I should call it a white paper. It's a white paper, which is like 3 or 4 pages. Then I have 3 or 4 pages on how to get hard money. Then we just send out these emails every once in a while. Every once in a while we send you a deal. Here it is. Most of the time I sell the deals over the phone because they got my 5 or 6 best buyers. But a lot of times I'll just send an email blast, and because I've built that relationship. Whereas somebody else, Paul went and he met you at the same RIA, got your card, he put it in a shopping bag. Built no relationship with you. Let's say he did put it into his database. Then he blasts a deal to you 6 months later, but you got no idea who Paul is, and you're a little bit frightened of buying that first deal. Who are you going to call, me or Paul? You're going to call the person who's built a relationship with it. But you don't have to build it. The computer does it for you. That's business process automation. That's the value of having a system. That's what it does for you. What does a system do for you? This is how I'll end it. My first year in the business, we worked hard, made a lot of money. But then I realized, and I was dating a girl at the time, and I lost her because of work. And I realized it wasn't worth working that hard. It wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. There was a girl that I was in love with, and I hate telling the story, but that's what happened because I was so addicted to work, and because I didn't have systems, it hurt the relationship. And I regret it. And I look at it and I say, that's a lesson that you can learn. Because I look at my life now and I look at the business and the way I do it. So life is too short to not have some sort of systems within your life. Because money is only so good because you need time. That's what systems do for you. They get that time back in your life. And so I hope, have you guys learned something since you've been here?
Yeah.
Have you enjoyed it? Yeah. All right, good. What we're going to do now is I'll just tell you what are we doing now? I don't even know what we're doing now, Mike. We're doing lunch. All right, so how long are we taking for lunch? Do you want to get up here and say a couple of things? Maybe lead us? Fearless leader, Mike. Thank you.